Hey, I'm Lorelei, registered dietitian nutritionist. Welcome to my kitchen. Today, we're gonna talk about beans. New Year's Eve tradition is to have beans in your pot. It's supposed to bring good luck, and as a dietitian, I encourage this practice. Beans are full of fiber and minerals, and they are a great plant-based source of protein. So today, I'm really just gonna show you how easy it is to cook your own beans. You can get beans in a can, and I do this all the time. I often use canned beans, but dried beans are also an option. It maybe is a little cheaper to buy beans dried and then prepare them yourself. Most beans need to be soaked overnight. Today I'm going to look at black beans, and these were soaked in plenty of water overnight. They absorb all that water and then they're ready to cook. After you've soaked them, you want to drain that soaking water off and then start with fresh water before you boil them. Just soaking beans, they about double or even more in size, so they get a lot bulkier. I started off with one pound bag of beans and ended up with a big bowl of soaked beans like this. Whereas this is a 1 pound can of beans. I'm gonna say we're gonna end up with probably about 4 cans worth of beans from one bag of dried beans. That may vary from bean to bean. Some absorb more water than others. That's probably approximately close. I often will cook beans in my slow cooker. You can certainly do that. Put it in a slow cooker on low for about 6 hours. But today I'm just gonna show you how to do it on the stove because I think everyone is able to do it that way. And really, it's very simple. You just put the beans in there, add some water, bring it to boil, and then simmer it until the beans soften, which usually takes a couple of hours. You don't have to add anything to them, and in fact, I've often heard it recommended that you don't add salt to your beans as they start to cook because it can keep the skins tough. I've also heard that that's not true, so if you like to do that, if it's something you're used to doing, you can do it. But there's no reason why you can't just add the salt at the end anyway. Some people will add things like bay leaves or spices or even, chop up onion and garlic. And if you know that's the direction you want to go with your bean dish, you can do some of those things right when you're cooking the beans. Or for example, if you were going to cook a black bean soup in your slow cooker, you can put soaked beans in there. You don't necessarily have to pre-cook them before you then go ahead and add all of your soup ingredients. I'm just gonna dump these all into a pan on the stove, add lots of water, and then just boil them. And then when we're done, we'll come back and we'll make something out of those beans because you gotta eventually eat them. Once these are done and the beans are nice and tender, you can take them off the stove and then you can drain them. However, you can save this cooking liquid because it does make kind of a nice rich stock. And then these beans can be used, just as a simple side dish. You can put them in tacos, you can put them in soups, you can throw them on top of a salad, or you could make rice and beans. Every once in a while, we catch a rare sighting of Joe cooking in the kitchen. What might he be making? Sometimes behavior changes slightly when Joe realizes he's being watched.
Hello, I'm Lorelei, and welcome to my kitchen.
We're not Lorelei! No one believes that!
No, I am not a dietitian. Today, you have caught me in my unnatural habitat.
It's not entirely true. Joe actually is a very good cook, and he makes dinner for us from time to time.
A couple times a week.
Yeah.
Today, we're doing one of my staples. I make no vouching for the dietitian nutrition of it, but it tastes good. Just rice and beans. Lorelei cooked the beans yesterday.
So today, the beans are from scratch, from dry beans. So now we're going to get to see how Joe will use them in rice and beans. Usually he uses canned.
Yes.
How's this going to work out?
I don't know. We'll find out.
Probably exactly the same.
Or drastically different, and we'll have discovered the philosopher's stone of cooking.
Talk us through what you're doing.
Yeah, all the stuff's been cut. We've got peppers, onions, mushrooms, pickles, which I really like, and rice and beans, banana peppers, olives, and a lot of garlic. We've got some wine, some salsa, and some hot sauce, which we'll also incorporate into it. Rice is cooking there. We've got a pan which is heating up, and I'm going to add a generous helping of oil to kind of prepare what I think of as like the gravy. I know.
Joe uses a lot more oil than I would use.
We're not done yet because we will also introduce some butter into the mix there.
Horrors.
Which adds some good flavor to it, and you know, the heating point of stuff, it's probably too hot for butter alone at the temperature we're going to cook it, but when you mix in the oil, they kind of get to blend their cooking temperature.
I have to admit, his rice and beans always taste really good, but if I were making it, and maybe this is why mine never tastes as good, I don't use nearly as much fat, and I don't use butter.
So try the Joe way first.
But Joe's also very good at incorporating a numerous array of vegetables.
Yeah, this is basically our array. We also have some frozen peas that we'll also use, which I've just thawed in the microwave with a little bit of water.
And we're using brown rice, which we have a rice cooker. Love it. But you can also cook brown rice on the stove. Show them how much oil you're using, just so that I can...
I told it to people already. There you go.
But you can't see.
There's a fair amount. You want it to coat everything that you can be putting in, and we're putting in a lot of things, so... It
does taste good. It's going to make a significant portion, so it gets distributed throughout. That said, I don't know if you'd be able to even taste the difference if you used less. What do you think?
I don't know. So...
I'm not allowed to look a gift horse in the mouth. Don't forget the onions.
I won't.
Okay.
I won't. As you can see, I'm putting them in an order that Lorelei does not prefer.
It's rare that I hover over his shoulder and make comments while he's cooking.
Rare? It never happens. I wonder why.
I just let you cook. Dietitian comments on Joe's cooking. Let's see how that goes.
Yeah, we're just going to kind of cook this down a little bit.
All right.
Stir to make sure it's all coated.
All the veggies first. Yum.
There's a healthy portion of garlic in there.
Nothing wrong with garlic.
And we're adding some salt.
Salt is going next. I'm doing the play-by-play.
And we have
as Joe is at the stove.
Ground pepper.
Ground pepper going in next. You might be able to hear it cracking behind me.
And cumin.
Cumin. Joe's big on the cumin. And oftentimes the beans that he uses are in a can already with some onions and some seasoning, so now he's going to have to try to make up for that. Let's see how it works.
It's true. More spices.
Just dump that whole thing in, Joe. Just a note, ideally you don't sprinkle spices directly over the heat because the steam from the things that are cooking can move into the spice shaker and cause the spices to clump. I learned that very recently, so this is something that I probably have done many times in the past.
It was already doing that before it was over the thing!
More cumin.
We'll taste test this at different points. Now is not the point.
Joe will taste test at different points. Not now.
Evidently I don't speak English. Peas.
Peas going in. I kind of enjoy giving the play-by-play. Joe is stirring. He is trying to make sure all the vegetables are coated in the generous amount of oil that he put in there. Now, Joe, I put some of the bean stuff in here with the beans. Do you want that to be drained off, or are you going to go ahead and add that?
I'm probably going to go ahead and add that.
Okay. And then as it...
will have to cook down a little bit longer.
It will cook down a bit, but this is a way to add flavor, and as it cooks down, that flavor condenses, and so using bean stock, a good thing.
Wine also just went in.
Wine just went in. Salsa being added. Green salsa specifically. And Cholula, a little bit of spice. As you can probably guess, this is not a precise exact recipe, although Joe does follow a similar pattern of cooking each time he makes these.
This is true.
We're just documenting it.
For posterity.
For posterity. All right, what's next? Joe?
We're just waiting for this to cook down a little bit before we add in the beans. Once it heats up, it's gonna cook down under lower heat for a while till our rice is ready. Still not there.
Okay, so it might be a moment while those things cook down, we wait to add the beans, and then the rice is gonna go in last?
Yeah.
Does anything go in after the rice, Joe?
I'll do a taste of this once kind of the beans and everything are in there. Depending if it needs more acid, it will get some balsamic vinegar. It may need more salt, just depending.
May need more salt because there's no salt in these beans right now. The beans have gone in. They have made their way into the pot to mix with the veggies. And some pickle juice going in. Just a quick note, pickle juice is mostly vinegar and salt. So if you were going to add vinegar or salt to your dish and you have pickle juice laying around, it's the way to make use of an ingredient that would otherwise be wasted. It's starting to smell pretty good in this kitchen, I can tell you that. Oh yeah. Let's get a close up there. Rice is now done cooking. Joe tasted the bean and vegetable mixture and added a little extra salt. Let's see what happens next.
And vinegar.
And vinegar. The rice is hot. It's now coming out of the rice cooker and he is pouring it all into the rice and beans. How much rice did you make, Joe?
1 cup of rice to 2 cups of water.
All right, so that's gonna be about 3 cups of brown rice. 1 cup of dry rice to 2 cups of water.
Seemed like more beans than come in a can.
Joe says it seems like a few more beans than what would normally come in a can. A cup of rice is actually 3 servings of rice, but it would generally be a portion for someone at a meal. Since we have 3 cups of rice going into this dish, this is gonna make about 3 servings. Only 2 of us are gonna eat it, but usually we have leftovers, so that is right about on par with appropriate serving sizes. Joe has no idea what I'm talking about when it comes to serving sizes. He just eats to suit his hunger.
Kurgablurg.
That's why I'm the dietitian.
Turgablurg, a perturbed herd into herd.
Okay, he put the rice in with the beans and the vegetables.
Drunk.
He's still scraping.
Defer.
He's got to get the last bits of rice out, which is great because we try not to waste any food in this house. That's more my priority than his. The rice is getting stirred in. He's folding, gently stirring the rice into the other ingredients, incorporating. There is a little bit of liquid in the bottom of this pan as well, and he's trying to get that into the rice, which will flavor the rice. I have no idea what that was. Now, a lot of people will serve rice and beans with rice on the bottom and just beans spooned over the top. Of course, you can do that, but it is actually pretty good to mix them all up while you're making it. The rice gets really well seasoned and then every bite is a little bit more even. It's looking good and smelling good too. Let's take a look with the stove cam. Now that the rice and beans have cooled slightly, it is time to put them in a bowl and eat them. They'll taste good. We hope. All right, let's scoop them up. Yep. Joe's gonna take his away and eat it. Mm-hmm. This is still pretty hot, but it's good. It's chewy, it's tangy, it's really tasty. You can also freeze beans that you've cooked, so just put them in a container and they can just store in the freezer until you are ready to use them. So enjoy your beans on New Year's Day, and you can enjoy rice and beans any day. Joe says it's bean fun. Mm-hmm. Happy New Year. I kind of enjoy giving the play-by-play.
Right after I've given the play-by-play.
Well, you could just not say anything then, and then I get to do all the talking. So you're just the cook, focused, in the zone, not talking to anyone. And I'm commentating on it.
If we discussed this earlier, that might have been a way to go.